Hello and welcome to the Codex Prime podcast. We are on episode 91, and it is Tuesday, September 26th, 2017. I am your host, Victor Omoayo, and with me, as always, is my co-host and social media chair, Carl Byrd.
What's good, everybody?
Yes, thank you for tuning in. We are on the road to episode 100, and joining us tonight is creator of Hellion and comic book artist, Jim Savard.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back.
Been a long time.
It has been. It's been 2 years. Yeah,
It has not been that long.
it has been.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was one of our early episodes. It was actually September 2015. We actually did our original episode at Rococo's at the old location.
Yeah, I remember that night very well.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. Yeah, so welcome back on the show. We've got some bunch of comic related stuff to talk about. Stuff we've been reading, graphic novels, whatnot, just all that other nerd greatness that you know and love so much. Just real quick, Carl. What have you been up to?
Okay, well, I hung out with, some of the fellas. It wasn't quite Freddy Cup, but we just kind of just got together to play video games and talk shit to each other and drink beer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we started playing the new Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite game that came out. And I like it.
All right.
Lots of fun. It's 2-on-2, like, the old, was it X-Men? No, X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Yeah, that was 2-on-2. So it was like more of the, the original classic X-Men vs. Street Fighter games that were out. And, I'm liking some of the newer characters. Chris Redfield's good. Gamora, Doctor Strange. I actually was able to work very well with Doctor Strange.
Okay.
So I was very curious to see how he was doing. And I do want to see Black Panther. I believe he's in the game, but I just think he's going to be like a DLC that's coming on later on. Mm-hmm. So we had a blast playing that. So that's actually something I do recommend getting. I actually plan on getting it one day.
Okay.
I do got a birthday coming up, so.
Ah, nice.
That's a hint for everybody out
That
there.
sure is. That sure is. Right. So, we got down to that. And then I started reading. I wanted to finish by the time I got here. Alters by Paul Jenkins is one of the comic books I read that I picked up when we did our on the spot Code Extra episode next to Jim. He helped put that together.
Yep.
You're welcome.
And I'm liking what I'm reading so far. I'm really upset that I haven't got a chance to finish it so I can be able to give a full review. But I'll definitely do that next week. But I do like it. It's reminiscent of like X-Men, Little Inhumans, I guess. Well, which X-Men pretty much is Inhumans.
Yeah.
But
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. But I mean. But so far, I do like what I'm reading. So, like I said, next week when I'm finished, I will definitely give a full review, and I'll wait till you get to that. What you been up to?
I've been up to a couple of things. This past Sunday, I watched WWE's No Mercy event, their pay-per-view. And it was, for the most part, it was enjoyable. There weren't any new title changes or anything, save for one, which I'll get into in a second. The main event was Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman, who's the new monster among men, the Beast. Beast versus the Beast, and it was a solid match. Although it did end rather anticlimactically, where you had Strowman hit Lesnar with a bunch of power moves at the beginning, a bunch of power slams, and then Lesnar hits one F5 and pins him 1, 2, 3.
That was it.
And then that was it. No kick out, just
Nothing.
finito.
That was it.
Yeah, which doesn't really make Strowman seem as strong as they're building him up to be, but it's clear what WWE is trying to do. Like, they're trying to make him push Lesnar as like one of two main eventers for next year's WrestleMania. And that bleeds into the other match, which was John Cena versus Roman Reigns. which was interesting because John Cena has been, showing up Roman Reigns on the microphone for 3 weeks straight, calling him out, calling him a corporately created John Cena bootleg, making him look like a total fool on the promos.
In many ways, he did.
Yeah, and the match itself was fine. It wasn't spectacular. There were two spots where John Cena tried to hit the AA on Roman Reigns on the announce tables outside. Roman Reigns countered that into a spear, in which Reigns kind of overshot. He actually speared Cena and landed on his own head.
I did see that.
Yeah,
I did see that. I got a good laugh at that.
Yeah,
I woke up at that very moment. I was coming off an overnight watching it, so I'm watching it, and then I'm just caught. I woke up like right at that moment. I'm like, okay, here we go, another spear. Oh, that was his head.
Yeah, it was kind of a botch, but he managed to finish the match. Cena hit Reigns with 4 attitude adjustments. Reigns kicked out of all of them. Then Reigns hit him with a Superman punch, 1 well-placed spear, and pinned him 1, 2, 3. And since Cena, he's taking time off to film the unfortunate Transformers Bumblebee spinoff, which
that's what he's doing.
Yep, that's what he's doing with his time off.
Oh man, what
John Cena's going Hollywood, folks. His wrestling days might be coming to an end.
Yeah.
What a way to piss Victor off.
Unless the Bumblebee sting hurts him, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, he's it's funny. It's like it comes full circle because Cena called out The Rock for going Hollywood and being a part-timer, and Cena's doing the same thing right now. And Cena said that well, he's 40. He knows he can't do it forever, and he doesn't want to be one of those veterans that doesn't know when to quit. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll gracefully kind of move Cena out of the limelight. There was also a tag team match for the Raw tag team titles with the current champions Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins versus defending against Cesaro and Sheamus. That was a hard-hitting match. There was one very nasty spot where I think Ambrose slingshotted Cesaro into the turnbuckles, but Cesaro actually overshot the top turnbuckle and his teeth smashed right into the steel post, and his teeth were smashed in, and he was just gushing red throughout the rest of the match.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that. His mouth is not in a good place right now. He'll be definitely getting some dental work done.
Absolutely.
Yep. Oh, but he's still smiling.
Yeah, he is, and I don't think WWE wrestlers have health insurance or dental, so that's going to be really expensive.
Pretty sure they do.
No, for the longest time they didn't. I don't know if they've changed, but for the longest time they never had it, and that was one of the biggest issues. They're all insured by like Lloyd's of London and stuff like that.
Well, I knew they never had a union.
Yeah, they still don't, unfortunately.
Nah, because Bret Hart's been like fighting for that for years.
Yeah, it was a whole independent contractor thing, because otherwise they'd have to get a sports license like boxing, and Vince doesn't want to do that. But Ambrose and Rollins retained. Solid match, although feel bad for Cesaro because that was a nasty botch. I will say that the best match of the night was the women's match, the Fatal 5-Way for the Raw Women's title. Alexa Bliss, the current champion, defending against Nia Jax, Emma, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. Nia Jax, she actually stepped up her game quite a bit in this match. I've been kind of down on her because she's just big and imposing, but she's rather limited, and she's not exactly the most charismatic athlete. But she's actually been stepping it up bit by bit, and I hope that she'll get better and better as the weeks go on.
I like Nia.
I know you do.
She has that dominant presence. I mean, she can only improve at this point.
Yeah, she could, but she has a ways to go before she's like Piper Niven, from the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but Alexa Bliss retained, and that was cool. But the most controversial and the worst title change of the night, the one and only title change of No Mercy, was the Cruiserweight Championship, where the champion Neville defended against Enzo Amore. And for those who don't know, Enzo Amore has great mic skills, but he's a terrible wrestler. And he's actually legitimately one of the most unlikable and disliked personalities in the backstage culture of the WWE. And apparently, like, his on-screen persona is pretty much how he is in real life, 24/7. So you can imagine how irritating he actually is. The match flat out sucked. It was definitely one of the worst matches I've seen all year. and like it was extremely slow. It was plodding. Neville dominated most of it. He was just toying with Enzo throughout most of the match, 90% of it. And then there was like towards the end, Enzo rolled out of the ring and he grabbed Neville's Cruiserweight Championship. And all the while, the referee was counting him out. But for some reason, the referee stopped the count because Neville was like throwing a fit about that Enzo was touching his title. So Enzo, like a heel, rolls back into the ring with the championship, threatening to hit him with it. And then the referee takes the belt from Enzo, and as he turns around to put it away, Enzo just kicks Neville in the groin.
Balls, yeah.
Kicks him in the groin, pins him 1, 2, 3, and your new champion is Enzo Amore. So the Cruiserweight Championship, rest in peace.
The Cruiserweights were pissed. Like, they immediately went on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to check. Like, somebody posted them, like, in a meme form, so I had to, like, double check.
Yeah.
I went on all their personal Twitters, and it was true. Everything that they said was completely legit. Like, Mustafa Ali just tweeted patience. A lot of people were like saying, "Save us, TJP, save us, Cedric." Mm-hmm. None of them were happy about that.
Yeah, the Cruiserweight Championship. I mean, the whole Cruiserweight division. Like ever since they got to the main roster after the last summer's Cruiserweight Classic tournament, which was really good.
Very good. I still say that was the best tournament.
Absolutely. Like, but when they moved to Raw, it was like a zombie, and then Enzo Amore's title win was like the bullet in the zombie's head. That was basically it. The belt is a joke. The division is a joke. And it's sad to say because
it's not.
No.
It's very good. It's just poorly executed right now.
Exactly.
All they need to do is just like put it on a Thursday night, have it filmed at Full Sail with a crowd that would appreciate it, and 205 Live will be just as good as NXT.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what they should do. But it's like because you have a bunch of athletes in their prime, and they're wasting away on the roster with nothing matches.
They have great matches. Actually, they have really good matches.
I don't know what you're watching. I haven't seen a great Cruiserweight match.
I've seen plenty of good matches.
Yeah.
Well, that's historically the WWE, though. Vince doesn't like his boys small. He likes them big.
Never did.
And he has no appreciation for the high flyers. And that's why you ended up with people like Jeff Hardy, wrestling all these bigger guys, and Rey Mysterio up against these big guys because, he saw the talent, but he didn't want them competing against people their own size. So let's move them to the bigger guys.
And he should learn because all the small guys that he's taking chances with, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero, they were all big hits. They were great. They were greats. They're all Hall of Famers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Shawn Michaels. I'm partial. I'd probably say he's probably the greatest wrestler of all time.
I'm an Undertaker fan, so I'm biased.
I love The Undertaker. He's my favorite wrestler. But Shawn Michaels had it all. He had the mic skill. He had the talent. He did the high stuff. He'd get into fights. I mean, he was just all around every aspect of wrestling, the showman. He was better than Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
The only one that might be is Bret Hart. The two of them I keep teetering back and forth.
Yeah, because who else could pull off a 60-man Iron Man match, one-on-one, with one pin?
Yeah, that's right. They went to sudden death.
Yeah.
I mean, without a doubt, I absolutely agree. Like, Shawn Michaels has to be probably the greatest professional wrestler of all time because even at the end of his career, like when he was older, he still was on that same level, ability-wise.
Oh, yeah. I watched the match recently on the network with him against Shelton Benjamin on Raw.
Yeah, that was
it was just
match.
On Raw, a dead-ass regular match on Raw, and they killed it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a match of the year contender. I wasn't a fan of Enzo Amore's Cruiserweight title win, although last night's episode of Raw did end with the Cruiserweights, with Enzo talking a bunch of smack on the microphone, just straight up burying the rest of the roster.
Making it a heel turn. They're trying to take that into they're turning that into an angle.
Yeah, they're turning it into an angle. Like, they are open with the fact that Enzo cannot wrestle. In fact, Enzo has admitted as much, more or less, that he cannot wrestle. He just has a gift of gab, and that's why he has a job. And the Raw ended with Neville. He was about to attack Enzo, but then Enzo, like a coward, showed him a piece of paper saying that, well, with this stipulation that Kurt Angle, the GM, signed, if you lay your hands on me, you will never get another shot at this Cruiserweight Championship again. So Neville paused for a moment. He turned around and looked at the stage where all the Cruiserweights were lined up. He turned around and looked at Enzo again and pummeled him to smithereens. And then he left Enzo to fend for himself as the rest of the Cruiserweights surrounded him. So now they're going to turn that whole thing into an angle to see if the Cruiserweight division can be redeemed or if Enzo will continue to make it as a joke as the weeks go on.
I think what it is because, okay, as much as that everybody can't stand Enzo, he still sells.
That's the thing.
And guess what? People will start watching 205 Live just to see him get his ass whooped now.
Yeah, but it's like a catch-22. It's like, because the longer he holds the championship, the less credible it is. And mind you, the belt has little credibility now as it is, but considering how poorly booked the division is.
I don't know. It could change. It could change. I'm optimistic. It could change.
I want to interject with the Honky Tonk Man. I was around when he came out.
There you go.
Man, did he suck ass. He was horrible, lame gimmick, just awful. And he held that, and it was the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
And
longest reigning Intercontinental.
And at that point, it was kind of fizzling out, and no one had interest in it. And you just hated him. And every time he got beat, you loved it. So maybe Enzo is just holding it till they can come up with a cruiserweight that's going to, get the interest. And then, maybe he's just babysitting it for a couple months. That's how you got to kind of look at it. He's just like a placeholder for now.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Get his butt whooped and then get some interest, and then boom.
Yeah, well,
that's what happened. And that's exactly what happened. This is literally could be history repeating himself.
Oh yeah.
Because then what happened with Honky Tonk's reign?
Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior
came and ended it in like 4 seconds.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which was
a faster match than Daniel Bryan getting his butt whipped by Sheamus, which was awesome in itself.
I remember that. I remember watching it, and I was texting my cousin, and she was telling me, text me everybody everything that happens. So I'm like, all right, Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan. Sheamus won.
Yep.
That was literally was it.
Yeah, and that squash actually elevated Daniel Bryan.
It did.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this could project the 205 Live. It could project the whole division.
Well, let's hope so. Because, like I said, it's been shambling like a zombie since it started, post Cruiserweight Classic. So, fingers crossed. But Vince McMahon, it will be Vince McMahon in terms of booking. So, you don't want to hold your breath too long. So yeah,
I'm optimistic.
Yeah, to a fault. But
Very optimistic.
But yeah, that was my take on No Mercy. And a real quick movie recommendation to check out. Check out The Big Sick. It's a really good romantic comedy movie starring Kumail Nanjiani, a stand-up comedian, and is co-written by with him and Emily Gordon, who was his real-life girlfriend. I think they're married, real-life wife now, I believe. And it's a whole story about their relationship and how they came to be. And Kumail Nanjiani plays a version of himself, and he's a stand-up comedian trying to make it. And he's also trying to create this one-man show about his life, but it turns out to be really dry and not well received. And he's of Pakistani background, and so his family, they're trying to set him up with an arranged marriage with potential women. So he has a whole cigar box full of photos of women that his mom's trying to hook him up with, and so one day during one of his sets, he meets this woman Emily, and they hit it off. They actually have a good chemistry, and then until one day where she falls into a coma, and Kumail has to deal with her parents as well, and their whole trying to get to know them in a very trying situation. It's a really cool movie. It's based on his real life relationship, and it's like an autobiographical type film, and it's actually very funny. Lots of very well written, lots of really good one-liners and zingers here and there. It's available on Blu-ray right now, so if you're at a Redbox, I recommend checking it out. The Big Sick, really fun movie.
All right. right.
Yeah, feel good movie. See, I watch feel good movies.
For once.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No, this is good. Have you heard his track record?
No.
You don't want to.
No, it's an exaggeration. They're saying that
It's not an exaggeration.
they like
not
Carl,
exaggerated.
like Carl and a few friends of ours claim that my taste in film art is too dark or too depressing, which I don't see why.
Cannibalistic Holocaust.
I've never seen Cannibal Holocaust.
Cannibal Holocaust.
Did you see Green Inferno?
No, I haven't seen that.
I own Green Inferno, and it doesn't get much more
That's
creepy than that. I mean, that's just
Look at your
Oh,
face right
that's
now. You are like
Eli Roth, right?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And it's,
Look at your face right now. You're like lighting up as he's telling you about this.
it's about cannibalism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. well,
And look at you. You're
when
smiling.
you start seeing the little kids getting into it, it's kind of like,
Oh, that.
yeah, creepy.
Mm,
Yeah, definitely creepy.
okay. Well, I'll may have to check that out.
I
You're
own it.
grin. I haven't seen you grin this much since we were 2 weeks away from episode 7.
Episode 7.
Carl's all excited about episode 7, man. He's been talking about that all morning, or at night, I should say.
No, I'm gonna see it for the sake of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, you mean episode 8?
8, yeah.
Yeah, 8. Yeah.
But he was talking about 7 earlier.
Ah,
That's what
okay.
he's saying.
Yeah,
You're
about
excited
how excited he was.
Oh,
to
yes.
see episode 7. He had a countdown.
I did. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to, and some other comics and whatnot. Jim, talk to us. What have you been up to? What's been going on in the world of
Jim Savard.
Jim Savard? Yes.
Well, surgery, rotator cuff surgery. So I've got a lot of free time to try and heal.
Ouch.
Yes, you saw the big sling I'm wearing. Well, not a fun thing, but it is what it is. Hellion is got 4 issues out.
Yep.
We are
Got him.
waiting for number 5. The artist Philip Hudson, his girlfriend recently had a baby,
Oh,
and that's
congratulations.
kind of slowed things down a little. But it is what it is, and we'll get that ball rolling. The script for 6 is almost done, and then that series is done, with potential for more. I have left a few doors open and some ideas. I could probably have 2 more miniseries come out of it. So one would be like 3 issues, and the other one would be 5 or 6.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens and how things go with that. I'm also working with Hellion colorist on issue 2, Joe Medeiros. Joe's a friend of mine. He lives in Milford, Massachusetts. I met him through Rubber Chicken Comics in Bellingham, which is Massachusetts' home of Hellion. And Joe contacted me and asked me if I'd be willing to write a story for him.
Okay.
So he came up with some characters and said, "Can you come by the shop and I want to talk to you about it?" Joe is a huge Sergio Aragonis fan. Sergio writes Gru, for those of you who aren't familiar with him.
Okay.
And Joe, he is a huge inspiration to Joe. So Joe had this idea in his head, and it's called The Pirates of Dilfram. And it has, it's basically, he wants it to be kind of like Gru, kind of a comedy. So I kind of said, I write horror. And he just kind of smiled and goes, "Yeah, it's going to be great, isn't it?" So I've been kind of watching some Pirates of the Caribbean and trying to get my hands on pirate movies to get, the slapstick comedy of a pirate and then some of the serious stuff.
Yeah.
And see where we can roll with that. But I'm going to start writing that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So that's where the comic situation is.
There you go. I'm sure you can recommend like some more pirate movies. I know Sinbad's probably the first. That's the first one I can come to mind.
I have the Sinbad
Sinbad.
TV series on DVD.
Wow.
That's going back. It was 2 seasons. I have the first one. The second one couldn't find it on DVD. But it's a
Yeah.
fun. Bret Hart is in that first series.
Oh wow.
So there's a shout out for your wrestling.
Okay.
He mentioned that in his book.
Yep.
He did mention that. I've completely forgot all about that.
He was flat in it too. It was kind of like really, but Bret was never really much of a mic guy.
No.
He left it all to the ring. Let that talk for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of other pirate shows. There was an animated show that I remember, Pirates of the Dark Water. I don't know if you guys remember that.
No.
Yeah, it was from like the mid '90s. It was pretty short lived. There was like a Super Nintendo game based on it.
I came down.
Yeah, it was like
I'm a child in the 90s.
You always say that, Carl.
I know, you know it is because I know Aris watches, and it pisses him off every time.
Yeah, it was kind of like a sci-fi swashbuckling type deal. Yeah.
Did it last longer than Homeboys in Outer Space?
Oh yeah, it did. It actually had a full season.
Nice.
Okay, nice. And speaking of horror, like, were there any horror films that you've seen recently, both new and old? That you kind of
I saw it.
okay, nice.
Okay, well, I haven't seen it, and I've listened to a podcast, and it completely spoiled it for me. So I'm actually kind of okay with that. Victor gave his thoughts, and he absolutely loved it. Now, you're a horror guy.
Yes, I am.
You've always been one. What was your thoughts on it?
I got into horror at a very young age, like 6 or 7 years old.
Yes, you've seen
Carrie was the first movie, Sissy Spacek's Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
So to get scared is kind of a difficult thing for me. So now I shoot for that creepy, eerie, kind of like, that feeling in your stomach. I don't get scared or startled. I don't like that little cheap little out of the shadows and scare you type thing.
Oh, jump scares.
Yeah, that's like haunted house stuff. I like that really, like, you feel ominous and doom and stuff like this. It was creepy. They nailed Pennywise. I thought the clown was perfect. The way it moved, because it almost had that puppet contortion moving when it was doing its little dance and stuff. It was just, you're looking at it and you're like, for people who hate clowns, this might have sent them over the deep edge, because it was really, really creepy. It wasn't over the top horrible, but it had its moments, and it was definitely a good take, and I look forward to the second one coming out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because this actually leads to another question that I have, since we talking about the remakes of it. Now, with all the recent reboots and remakes going on, do you feel like there's like a lack of originality?
Have you noticed how many movies and TV shows are based on comic books? Think about that. Most of the TV shows, there's one on every night. We got The Walking Dead, we got Flash, Arrow, Gotham, Lucifer. What else am I forgetting?
Gifted.
Gifted's good.
Yeah, that's coming out. That looks real good, actually.
There's so many people laugh. Comic books this and comic books, but like comic books are like dominating everything. Movie theaters. I mean, there are comic book movies that people don't even know are comic book movies. Atomic Blonde. Then there's Whiteout, which came out many years ago. That was one. I don't think people realize V for Vendetta, comic book movie. I mean, there's so many movies that are based on comics that people don't even realize. So, lack of originality, yes. I think there are some movies that should be remade. Just because, like, I always use Logan's Run for an example. Okay. That movie's brilliant. It's a great story, shot in the 70s. I think with technology today, it would take that movie to a new place. And it wouldn't be it was out 10 years ago, let's remake it. It's 40 years. You can make a good remake of it. But I definitely agree that creativity seems to be taking a back door. Let's ride someone else's coattails and make money off of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that reminds me with Logan's Run, I think that the closest example of a remake per se would be Michael Bay's movie The Island, if you remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson, had that similar premise.
Right.
Yeah. Also, too, like with comic book movies nowadays, a lot of people have drawn parallels between that and westerns from like in the 50s and 60s, where there was like oversaturation of western films. Yeah, and nowadays, like comic books, is the same thing.
That's funny you say the westerns, because I just recently watched the new Magnificent Seven, and I loved it. Denzel Washington. I thought it was fun.
Okay.
Just fun for the sake of being fun. But I liked the characters; they were all enjoyable, and it was kind of like the villain could have been a better actor, but the movie was fun. So.
Okay. Now, which reboot would you like to see?
Well, Logan's Run, but other than that, let's see. Christine. Stephen King's, John Carpenter's Christine.
Oh, okay.
I think that movie was great. I think they could nail it again. I think that would be one just to make it
Yeah, I actually heard there's another Stephen King movie like in the works to be remade The name's like really escaping me right now, and I saw it and I actually thought of you. I thought of you and wanted to know what your thoughts of it, but I just really can't think about it. Maybe I think I did post it a while ago.
No.
Did you hear about the remake of Flatliners?
Yeah.
I was kind of like, did I see that with you, the preview with you, when we were seeing Atomic Blonde?
Yeah, I think so. It was one of the trailers.
Now, the original movie Flatliners, to me, is never needed to be redone.
Right.
It's timely. It doesn't, it just didn't need it. So I was kind of like, wow, they're redoing this. Like, of all the movies you could redo, you're going to redo one that is so epic. I mean, what goes on in that with, Julia Roberts and Kevin Bacon and Kiefer Sutherland was fantastic. And to redo it, I'm like, well, kind of almost takes away from the original one. Because it didn't need to be. So it's like redoing Jaws.
Yeah.
You don't need to redo Jaws. Jaws is perfect. Just leave it the way it is. Even down to the bad outfits the guys are wearing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like that. Like there are certain movies that don't need to be remade because they're so timeless. Like I remember there was a rumor like about 10 years ago that Madonna wanted to remake Casablanca, and she wanted to cast herself and Ashton Kutcher in the Humphrey Bogart role, and thankfully that never got off the ground.
Really?
Yeah, Casablanca of all movies. That was a rumor back then.
Like how long ago?
It was like 2005 or 2006 or so. Like I remember reading it online somewhere.
Ashton Kutcher, Dirt. Was that even Dirt? No, I would say during 2.5 Men days.
Was he on 2.5 Men? Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah.
He was?
Yeah, after Charlie. Yeah, he was Charlie Sheen's replacement.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I didn't watch the show, so yeah.
Maybe she talked to Madonna and heard good things about him. So, I mean Demi Moore. I'm sorry. Madonna talked to Demi Moore. That's it.
Yeah, and with horror movies, like what's a horror movie that you would like to see that has yet to get an on-screen adaptation, like any other like piece of fiction, a novel, or even a graphic novel?
Well, I'm partial to Clive Barker. So anything by him that's not out, he's got a great book called The Thief of Always, which is supposed to be a fable for children, but unless your child's like 14 or 15.
Pet Cemetery.
You think?
No, that's what I had to look it up. The same guy who directed this remake of It wants to redo Pet Cemetery.
Oh,
Nice.
Okay.
So you saw, we'll get back to Clive Barker in a second. So you saw It.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try not to ruin anything for people, but the scene when they're in the town and in the backdrop, they look and there's a clown on the stage.
Yeah.
Is that the actual guy who plays? I think it is.
No, he
Bill
looks.
Skarsgård.
Yeah, I think it's somebody different.
See, I thought it was him because I saw a picture of him before because I was curious what this guy looked like, and I saw it twice, and I was like, I think that's him. Like I don't know, but it just seemed like it kind of because he looked at them with that creepy look.
Yeah.
That's why it's when the kid with the glasses turns around and looks at him. That's why I was thinking it was him. But getting back to Clive Barker, he's got a great story called The Yattering and Jack. And it would be almost like one of those Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Dark Side. One of those. It would be a short, like you put a couple of them, but it's about this guy and his having Thanksgiving dinner, and his wife kind of sold her soul to the devil. But when she died in a pre-psalm, so her soul didn't go to the devil, so the devil's kind of ticked off. So he sends this demon to harass this guy. And it's at Thanksgiving, and it is awesome. It's a fun story. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. If you have a chance to read it, The Yattering and Jack by Clive Barker.
Okay.
It's in his Books of Blood. It's either volume 1, 2, or 3, but it's a fun read, and that would be like a great, if you put it with like another 1 or 2 of his short stories for a trilogy, it would be great. I don't know if they could drag it out for 90 minutes. Maybe be a good TV movie, but it would definitely be something worth seeing.
Okay. Great. Nice.
Now nowadays, do these reboots seem disappointing to you?
Some. I mean, Carrie, we'll use that again.
I know you. Something told me like you hated that.
I did, because you know what? I think the first one, and it is the first. Like I said, it's the first horror movie. I saw it at the drive-in. It was that and Halloween. So
Yeah, so that-
my sister took me out of a baseball game, little league baseball game, and we went, and that's how it all started. But Carrie, the story itself is creepy and dark. And then you take Sissy Spacek, who is like not really attractive, and you know, she was skinny, pale. She had those eyes. I mean, like that was like probably one of the greatest performances in a horror story I've ever seen by an actress or actor. And you know, when the pig blood came on her, and she's just looking with those eyes, she's so chalky white. I mean, just it had that creepy, scary feeling, and to this day, it's like one of the few movies that if I watch it over and over again, I still get the goosebumps because she was perfect for that role. You just couldn't put anybody else in that role. You know, sometimes there are just people that the role was made for them,
Right.
like Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool.
Yeah.
There are some people that the role is specific to them.
Oh my god, I can't wait for Deadpool 2. I'm so looking forward to that.
Yeah. What did you think of the first Deadpool movie?
It was all right. I'm not a big Deadpool fan.
Yeah.
I'm more of a DC guy, but it was fun. Fun watch.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm also looking forward to Deadpool 2. I'm curious to see Josh Brolin's take on Cable. I know there were some interesting casting choices that they were looking into, like Kyle Chandler as the role. Who else? I think it was a Stephen Lang that a lot of fans wanted to see as Cable.
Stephen Lang. That was the guy from Avatar, correct?
Yeah, he was the villain.
That was my number one choice.
What was the show he was in? He was in the TV show. It lasted 13 episodes. Sci-fi.
Firefly?
No. My son and I watched it a couple episodes, and then it just kind of fizzled. I can't remember. It was about I can't even remember now. I'll shoot myself.
Was it based on a book or a series of books?
Why? What are you thinking?
Because I'm thinking Dresden Files, maybe.
Nope. No.
Okay.
It was like dinosaurs were in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say time, but I could be wrong. I can't remember. I'll have to check. But
Maybe.
he was in that, I believe. But Cable's a great character.
Yeah, and I like the way Cable looks. Josh Brolin's Cable. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. So,
As you are.
yeah, so what's your opinion, since you mentioned that you're a DC guy, what is your opinion of the state of the DCEU / or the MCU?
Okay.
This is gonna be good.
It's going to be a while. You know, Marvel's been running roughshod with the movies and everything.
Correct.
And DC kind of had their New 52, which after, 30 weeks, people are like, is it still the New 52? And then it was like, after 40 weeks, is it still the New 52? So when the New 52 ended, everyone was kind of like, yay, and I was one of them. And their rebirth is phenomenal.
I've been hearing that.
And Marvel has been going out of their way to make life easy for DC because they're basically starting titles, canceling titles, starting titles, canceling titles, and they're starting off their legacy now, and they're bringing people back to their, to numbering, old numbering, and so Marvel's kind of like spiraling a little bit of downward. People are getting upset with the, changing the characters. Some people don't have an issue that Thor's a woman, and that Captain America's Sam Wilson and not Steve Rogers. I mean, there's been so many changes, and then we can't even get into Secret Empire with the whole Steve Rogers thing.
I've been wanting to get into that. I just got into. I haven't bought comics in a while because life happens and it sucks sometimes.
That had a lot of people furious. That thing with Stephen Lang, it was Terra Nova. That was what it was.
Okay.
But a lot of people were pissed off about Captain America. So now you've got Scott Snyder on DC, and he's writing a book called Metal, and it's about Batman, and it's that saying, "I'm Batman," and it's like this story is like the typical Batman and how it's affecting everybody. But this story is so well written, and I think it's gonna. This is the moment where it's kind of like when WWE and WCW when WWE shifted and took over WCW after those Monday Night Raws. I think you're going to start to see DC. They got the Wonder Woman movie, which nailed it and had a lot of people excited. People are looking forward to the Justice League movie, and I think it's kind of swinging, the pendulum's swinging, and if Snyder's metal takes off, which I think it's gonna, I think you're going to start seeing more people getting more excited about DC and Marvel less. You can see stuff like Marvel will do when Guardians of the Galaxy comes out. A couple months before the movie comes out, they start gearing you with 50 different comic books about the Guardians. And then like 3 or 4 months after, all of a sudden they start dwindling and they're down to 2 again. And people are like getting fed up with that. So DC seems to be righting their ship. A lot of DC, they've got momentum. They just need to make sure they nail the Justice League movie and ride Snyder's story of metal, because it is, if you have not read it, shame on you, because it is awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I got to get on the DC Rebirth train, because I've purchased the first 2 volumes of Wonder Woman Rebirth. I've yet to sit down and read them through, but I've heard a lot of great things about that series, as well as Batman, and even Superman.
Yep, Superman's got a new life. People are really digging it. I am loving Deathstroke the Terminator.
Okay.
It is by far, like, Hawkman's my favorite hero, but Deathstroke is rising the charts. Deathstroke is phenomenal, one of my favorites. But I'm I read Green Arrow too. He's another one of my favorites. My son loves The Flash, and the Titan books. He says the Titans is one of his favorite stories right now. So that's kind of.
Yeah, so which comics outside of Marvel and DC would you like to see on film?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Baltimore, which is my favorite.
I remember you recommended that one.
That's a Dark Horse book, written by Christopher Golden and Mike Mignola. For those of you who know, Mignola did Hellboy, created Hellboy. Just picture Baltimore is basically like Moby Dick, but it's about vampires. A vampire. And this guy's trying to get this vampire. It's a great story, and it's many arcs. It's fun. It is my favorite story of all time for comics. I love it. It started off as a book with art in it, and then it went from that form to comic form. And it's, one time it was for Free Comic Book Day. It's special. I love reading it. It's a great character. It draws you in, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, one comic that you actually recommended to me that I'm kind of upset that I never got a chance to finish was Steam Man.
Oh, shame on you. That was a fun ride too.
Yeah, so there's one part where this dude gets sodomized to death. I was not expecting that.
Wow.
I was trying not to spoil it on the show, but that was just too much.
Good stuff.
Hey, expect the unexpected.
I wasn't expecting anything, but definitely not that.
But I will say, the guys at Aftershock, I know you met them a couple weeks ago. They were in the shop, and we were talking to them. And, Regan at the shop has really, from day one, the first time he saw Aftershock, believed in it, and he's been bringing in all the books. So they're different things for different people, different tastes. I was reading one called Insects, which is about 2 women and insects. It's creepy. It's a horror story. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, but it is interesting. But another one that just came out last week, I have been telling every single person that comes in the shop to read it. I've posted a picture of it on Facebook because I think this book is going to be incredible, and I think that everybody knows half the story, and I think that's what makes this even better, especially for people who love horror. The story is called Dark Ark, and it's by Cullen Bunn, who writes so many things. He writes Deadpool. He's written I just can't off the top of my head, but I know he's written a boatload of stuff. But Dark Ark is basically, picture Noah's Ark. You've got all the animals 2 by 2. Well, we all have our monsters. How did the monsters survive the flood? Oh, there was a second ark. And all the monsters are on the second ark, and this family has to take care of the monsters. So I just read the first issue and I was blown away.
You know what? You did mention it. They did mention that.
Okay.
On the Codex.
So and I mean, if you can find it, find it. It is amazing.
Okay, that sounds real fun. Dark Arc. Okay.
Yeah, we're sold out.
Oh.
Yeah, I pumped it to everybody I could. I do think there's some other places that may have it. I'll talk to you about it after.
Okay. And it's currently in like single issue form, or
Single issue.
Okay.
Issue 1 just came out.
Okay.
And I read on their mailing list that they had initial orders. Diamond had already sold out, and that Aftershock was getting them more copies. So this is going to be a winner. So
nice.
Just as big as Briggsland, you think?
It's going to be better.
You think so? I like Briggsland.
I think the thing. Brian Wood is a great writer, but I think what happens is some books get more hyped because people hear the rumors that it's going to be a TV show. I can't even tell you how many TV shows, how many comic books are speculated on being TV shows. People are just waiting and waiting. Oh, I heard this is going to be a TV show. I hear this is going to be a TV show. And it's kind of like, okay, that's great. They're going to be TV shows, but are you buying the book because you want to read it, or are you buying it because it's going to be a TV show and you think it's going to be money? So I think there's a lot of that kind of hemming and hawing. Sometimes books get more than they deserve because people think it's going to be on the big screen.
Yeah, like the next Walking Dead, like
Yes.
issue 1. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I would say Briggsland has potential, though.
Now,
Oh, I know everybody who's read it. That and Saga. There's another.
God, I've been so behind
Yes.
on Saga, and I'm
Saga's-
so upset with myself.
I'm not a Saga fan, but I don't read it. But I can tell you, being around shops for, quite a bit, Saga is one of those stories that I have never heard anybody say a single bad thing about.
yeah.
The people that read it absolutely love it. And I mean, there's one person I know in the shop comes in and she reads 2 books, and that's it. And that's one of them. And she comes in. If it comes in on Wednesday, she's there before Saturday picking it up. So people love it, and it is
But
top
the
notch.
only way I can see Saga on a big screen is if it's animated and only on Netflix.
Yeah.
Something like that has to be a Netflix or even HBO. They got a lot of momentum going on right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like it's kind of difficult to picture Saga as a live action.
It'd be expensive.
Like it would be expensive, and then to do it well, and how
Exactly.
and considering how outlandish it can get, yeah, to live action, like animation would definitely free it from all those like shackles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the fan favorites. I know people absolutely love it.
Yeah. So back to your writing. Are there any artists or any other writers that you would like to work with? I know you're working with this one right now, but
Oh boy, there are a lot of I've been fortunate because the guys who do the covers to my book are all local guys, and my friends, so I have the honor of working with them. So that's kind of cool. I do have a story in the back of my head that I'm kind of thinking about, and I did speak to Ryan Santos, a local guy, about doing the art for that. It's just getting the time to do it, and I think once this Pirates of Dilfrum is done, I'm going to sit down and really make an effort to focus on that. So I'd like to work with him. Now, for famous artists,
hey, sky's the limit.
that's a tough one. Because we all have our favorites. I met Aaron Lopresti at the Boston Con, not this year, but last year. And he was really cool. I enjoyed talking to him. And Terry Dotson was next to him, and he was fantastic too. But Aaron, I think, for what I would have in mind for like story wise, I think Aaron would be a good choice. So it's one of those. Boy, I'll tell you who I wouldn't want to work with would be John Romita Jr. Not a fan of his art at all. I think he rides his dad's coattails, his dad's name. I think he's lazy. But a lot of people like his art. I just don't. Does nothing for me.
Okay. What about Rob Liefeld?
Well, going back to the New 52, at one point he did the Hawk and Dove, and it was kind of rough. I like Hawk and Dove, and it was kind of rough seeing his art on it. Then I heard he was going to be taking over the Savage Hawkman. And like I said earlier, Hawkman's my favorite hero. So when I heard he was going to Hawkman, I was like anything but happy. But it was in a different capacity. He went to Hawkman as a writer, and his story was great. Liefeld should focus on writing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right. It was really good. I was impressed. The art, the hands. You know, you've heard the hands thing about him. He just doesn't get the hands and the feet well. Yeah. I mean, and his characters do tend to look alike, but definitely the story was impressive. I was not disappointed. So,
all right. Now, was you a fan of Spawn at all in the 90s?
No, I like looking at the covers. I'm a big fan of. I love comic art covers.
Right.
And obviously, you got great covers on Spawn books.
Oh, yeah.
But I never really.
Okay,
But that's still going. 200 plus issues.
Yeah, and there's a new movie
Right.
in the works right now.
Yep.
As in, like, Todd McFarlane's going to be directing it. Now that's supposed to be going into in the horror genre.
Yeah, it's a R-rated horror.
Nice.
Yep.
You think how do you think that would work? I don't want to get into the '97 Spawn because
Well, the thing about the
Yeah.
'97 Spawn, everybody wants that actor to be Spawn again. I've seen multiple things about have him do it. Have him. Yeah, no. Let's get someone.
why
new.
not?
Let's get someone.
Why
new.
not? Michael Jai White is still BA. Like
He is, but I just think you need to get it. If you're gonna reboot, you need to have that movie needs a new flavor, so to speak. It needs a new.
I can't see anybody else doing it.
Well, you know, like I look at. I'm going to go to the Punisher.
Go ahead.
So we got Dolph Lundgren, who did the first one.
Awful.
Sucked.
Yeah.
Thomas Jane did the next one, and I looked at it, and I was like, it was good, but it was a Hollywood movie. That's the only way I can describe it as a Hollywood movie. I met Thomas Jane too. Great
I
guy.
remember seeing that picture.
He phenomenal, but it was a Hollywood movie. When you got John Travolta in it, it was just Hollywood. The next one, Ray Stevenson.
Yep.
Now, to me, that's the Punisher. He was Frank Castle. He was badass. He looked like Frank Castle. And now we've got Shane being on the Netflix show. And I know people.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know people love his rendition, and that's great. But I look at it. Sometimes people get into a role, and that role stays with them for the rest of their lives. Like Barry Williams is Greg Brady. You know, to me, William Shatner is always going to be Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't care that he played T.J. Hooker or whatever he did. There are some people that just, like John Delancey, who played Q on Star Trek The Next Generation. To me, he's always going to be Eugene on Days of Our Lives because my sister watched it. There are some people who just end up in a role that they carry for the rest of their lives.
True.
And I
true.
think,
Steve
to
Urkel.
me, yep.
Julia White is Steve Urkel.
Yep.
So I think Dustin Diamond is always going to be
Screech.
yes. So I think I look at John and say to myself, well, he's Shane, and I can't. It's just, to me, that's what did it for him. I've seen him in other shows, but he's Shane, and it's
Correct.
like when I even hear them talking. So like even if they're going to be talking to him and they say Frank, I'm going to hear Shane. So, but Ray Stevenson was such a good, I think the villain was an okay choice. He could have done better.
Yeah.
But he was a dominant, like he looked like the Punisher.
He really did.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
I'm not knocking it because I still see John Bernthal as Shane. Like I still call him Shane, and I love him as Punisher.
like if you
Loved it.
look at like the Walking Dead people now, like Rick,
You're right. Yeah,
Andrew Lincoln
Andrew
is-
Garfield is Rick.
yeah,
Andrew Lincoln.
Andrew Lincoln.
Yeah.
Wow.
and then you've got Carl. He's always going to be Carl.
That show kind of ruined my life.
And you know what I'm saying? So some people just Carol, Melissa McBride, or that's her name.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
her name.
She's going to be Carol now for the rest
Yeah.
of her life. There's no getting out of that. And I'm sorry, Daryl, Norman Reedus,
Yeah.
is going to be Daryl for the rest of his
Yeah,
life.
Reservoir. No,
even though we
Boondock Saints is kind of out the window. It's still a cult classic.
Yes, it is.
Don't get me wrong, but that okay, he's been Daryl for like the past almost 8 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's going to be Daryl.
He is Daryl for the rest of his life.
Oh, and you know what's funny? This kind of works in reverse. Like, have you seen that Stephen King movie with Thomas Jane, The Mist?
Oh, I love that
Oh,
movie.
yes.
That was
Yeah.
like epic.
Yeah, that was such a great movie, so underrated.
Yep.
And like that movie has several Walking Dead actors in it.
Yes.
And watching it now, it's like, oh, there's
Andrea,
Carol, there's
Carol.
Andrea, Carol, who else? Dale from the first couple seasons. Yep. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to miss. And John Haponic said this is actually like the first like shout out I've gotten. John Haponic, I call him our resident supervillain because he's a big DC guy. Agrees with you and says Ray Stevenson was the definitive Punisher.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, you know, it's funny because like I'd say like John Bernthal, in my opinion, is like the best Frank Castle. I say that, and nothing against Ray Stevenson because he was badass too, but I think to your point where people still identify him as Shane is because like in the majority of roles that I've seen Bernthal in, that a lot of people have seen him in, he's always played those hair trigger like volatile characters, and Shane is like epitomizes all of them. And then all his roles after that were just variations of that role. So I can see why people still identify him
I'm
as Shane.
hearing this Punisher is gonna be like crazy violent.
Oh, I can imagine because
It's gonna be like
because Daredevil,
Bastard.
because like Daredevil, like the first 2 seasons alone, like
but yeah, they were violent enough.
Well, it's funny when I don't watch the Netflix shows. I just there's not enough time in the day to watch all the shows, so I end up watching the shows with my sons. We do like the DC shows, but the Netflix shows. Everybody I talk to when they talk about the Netflix shows, it's kind of funny, but everybody's favorite order or what they think of the best ones are, the way it trickles down, it's pretty much the order of the way they came out. So everybody loves like Daredevil and Jessica Jones. The best. I heard nothing but great things about the two of them. Daredevil started off slow, and then it just started to kick butt. And then as you trickle down to Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and the Defenders, it kind of fizzles out. Now the Defenders to me will always be Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Silver Surfer, and Namor. So that's another reason why I don't watch it either, because I kind of think the Defenders are the Defenders, not Marvel Knights.
yeah.
Circa 2000 or whenever that was. So
Yeah.
I completely forgot. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and that's interesting. Like now that you mention it, I would really like to see a Namor Submariner either movie or a show.
I'm sure that's gonna be.
well, we've got Aquaman coming out, so
Exactly.
Marvel's not gonna.
Yeah. Then
And they're pulling out. You know what? I think that's the other thing too. They're pulling out characters out of their butts to give them movies, like Ant-Man. Like honestly, I don't see a lot of people coming into comic shops screaming, "I want my Ant-Man comic."
yeah.
I didn't hear people saying, "I want an Ant-Man movie." I mean, he was fantastic in the Captain America movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Did you like the standalone movie?
It was okay.
Really, I thoroughly enjoyed it because Ant-Man's he's not even a B-list.
It was enjoyable.
Very
But
enjoyable.
See, I'm not for the Marvel movies. I love the Captain America ones the best. I love the Thor ones. I think the 2 Avengers movies are the same movie, except we took out the aliens and replaced them with
robots.
Robots.
Yep.
The Guardians was meh. I could do without it. It was
I'd say volume 2 you can do without.
Yeah, the first one was interesting and fun, but it wasn't like I always look at a movie and say, do I want to own it? If I want to own it, to me that's, and then I love the X-Men movies, the new ones. I think they're great.
You liked Apocalypse?
I did. I just wish,
I can't finish Apocalypse.
I just wish that they had better use of Apocalypse in it. Like they kind of did, but I think they fell a little short. And I think that's what happens. They're so focused on the good guys, they forget they need to. Where DC nails it, they make the bad guys. Really, like Jack Nicholson's Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker. Those guys were dominant bad
Correct.
guys. Marvel seems to fall short of the bad guys. They don't give them that, like, holy crap, this guy's really, really. they come close. They come so close with Magneto, and I know he skates that line, the gray line of good, bad, evil, and it's almost like just when they feel like they just need to give him that little bit of push to make him just a little more evil, and they're afraid to do it, and it's like that's what Marvel does. They just come up short.
Yeah, I agree, especially with their films. Like many of their villains, like with the MCU, for example, like outside of Loki, there really aren't any other villains that are memorable or really hold that badassery, if you will. I will say that the inverse is true on the Marvel's Netflix series. Like for example, Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, like Vincent D'Onofrio is an excellent Kingpin, and David Tennant as the Purple Man.
I would probably say he's the scariest one. He was probably the best one.
Yep, on Jessica Jones.
Like
Kilgrave, yeah.
But Wilson Fisk is like second by a hair.
Yeah. And then Iron Fist, well, we don't have to talk about that because Iron Fist was trash. Absolute trash.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
Yeah, I watched the first 3 episodes and I was done. I couldn't get through the rest of it. Cottonmouth, Cornell Stokes from Luke Cage. He was very good.
Very good. I was
really
so
good.
upset they killed him off within the middle of the season.
Yeah, and then the Diamondback, who was the big bad for the rest of it, he was kind of like a stock villain, but the actor who played him took the football and ran as far as he could with it. It was
Who was the guy? Wasn't that Candyman?
No, it wasn't Candyman. He looked like Tony Todd.
Yeah,
it was
Tony
like
Todd's awesome.
Yeah,
Candyman was like the.
That's a Clive Barker book.
Yeah.
I was afraid of Candyman as a kid. Like maggots just on his face, and he's just sitting there like that creeped me out. I did not want to say Candyman 3 times in a mirror.
Oh man, yeah, like
And he was Worf's brother,
oh yeah, that's right.
Kern.
Yep, Star Trek reference.
And
Carl.
he was Jake Sisko on Deep Space Nine, the adult version. Oh, I've got a whole list on Tony Todd. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, but yeah, we were saying like the actor who played a Diamondback on Luke Cage, like he looked like a younger Tony Todd, but like he took that his character was so cheesy that like it kind of skated that line towards like completely ridiculous, but yet like kind of like a car accident appeal. It's like, okay, let's see how ridiculous this can get without compromising the quality of the show. It's one of those things you just have to see.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to find out his name.
Yeah. Oh,
Eric LeRae Harvey.
yes. Yeah, he was also on Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, I just
yeah.
clicked on his on his Wikipedia page, and that was the first thing that came up.
Yep. And also like going back a bit, you mentioned the Flash earlier. Like I read the other day that like there was, I don't know if it was rumor or confirmed, but the Flash movie in the DCEU, like the producers are considering like making that a Flashpoint adaptation so they can reset the DCEU continuity and start from scratch due to all like the negative feedback that the DCEU has fairly gotten. Which
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
I don't know.
Boy.
Like if they made a Flashpoint adaptation, it's like, I mean, outside of Wonder Woman, I agree. Like change everything else about the DCEU because Batman versus Superman was
we go ahead. No,
because like I said, Batman versus Superman was terrible. Man of Steel was disappointing, and Suicide Squad was trash.
Well. All right. They all stand on their own little legs here. What didn't you like about Man of Steel?
Oh man,
You gonna tell me because he killed Zod?
No, I didn't mind that.
Go ahead.
I mean,
I thought
Go
that
ahead.
was.
Please make this a debate.
I thought
Please
that was
debate.
brilliant. You know what? We have got Superman, the big blue Boy Scout. I can't stand Superman because he's too perfect. But you see all these movies, and he's fighting Lex Luthor, and I always sat there and said, I want to see Superman who's so strong. Like I look at the Hulk, he's like the Hulk. Hulk smash. I want to see Superman smash. So a lot of people's issue with the Man of Steel was that he killed Zod, and I'm like, Zod left him no choice. Zod wasn't going to stop. So I kind of really thought that was fantastic to see him just snap his neck. I was like, that was finally you're giving me someone for Superman to beat on that can beat him right back. So.
Eddie Ortiz says Man of Steel was awesome.
I gotta disagree with Eddie Ortiz on that one. I'll say that like Superman killing Zod, I had no issues with that because like it left him no choice. He had to do what he had to do. But my problem is with Man of Steel. One of my biggest problems is that Superman, like he's 50% responsible for the destruction of Metropolis. Like him and Zod fighting in the center of Metropolis. They destroyed the city, and I can't see how the citizens of Metropolis or the rest of the world can look at him as a savior. And mind you, Zack Snyder's treatment of Superman is not an inspirational figure. Not about truth, justice, and the American way or the human way. He's a god figure that you're supposed to fear, like grovel on your knees and be grateful that Superman's going to come save you. And even then, he's going to be like, ugh. Why do I have to waste my time with these mere mortals? Why can't you have powers? Why can't you be on my level? I'm a Kryptonian, the last son of Krypton. I'm too good for this puny race. That's how he comes across.
Oh, see, I don't
so morose.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think he came across as a farm boy with his dad's lessons of life, and I think what happened was, as the movie progressed, I kind of saw Superman in a light of, this was the first time he was really using his powers. So not knowing it was, and that's the other thing too, Zod had full knowledge of what his powers were going to be. Mm-hmm. Clark Kent had no idea. Superman had no idea what he was capable of. So you talk about that scene where they're fighting. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're in a bar and someone hits on your girlfriend or boyfriend and you're or tries to hurt someone you care about, you go and you stop them, and then the fight breaks loose, and your intentions are good, you're trying to do it. So I think in the movie, to me, like the whole thing kind of flowed, and I get the fear of Batman, seeing this and being like, well, I got to stop him, without taking the time to realize I need to talk to him first. And I think what happened in Batman and Superman, I was very disappointed with Doomsday. That was just awful. But the highlight of the movie was how Lex Luthor manipulated them to fight each other, how he played them for a fool, which was exactly what they did in Captain America when he had Iron Man and
Civil War.
Yeah. Iron Man and Captain America fighting each other. It was like the perfect play.
Mm-hmm. Now from our Facebook Live, John Haponic says, Victor bought Man of Steel. You must have seen something in it.
Well, okay, listen. I bought Man of Steel 2 years before Batman vs. Superman came out, so it was at the time where the DCEU had promise. Now, Man of Steel had flaws, but I was hoping that Batman vs. Superman can actually course correct and, go in a positive direction. Unfortunately, Batman vs. Superman the quality was such filth that it actually diminished Man of Steel even more. So therefore, I just had no choice but to give it away.
Okay. Now, hold on. People are commenting. John Aponic also says Superman has an issue as a savior. He can't be perfect. He had to learn from the experience with Zod. And Eddie Ortiz chimes in. He says, "Remember, Superman doesn't kill, so him killing Zod was a shocker. Now, Batman vs. Superman was just all over the place. Oh God!" And then he comments, and you say, "Oh God, Doomsday could have been so much better." I think
if they had left Doomsday out of it and just had the two of them fight, and I think if they had changed Wonder Woman's role in the movie, have her come in and be like, "Guys, what the hell? Stop it!" Like rather than "What's your mother's name?" Why'd you say Martha? If they had used Wonder Woman in that capacity to kind of like reel the boys in and leave Doomsday out of it. And have them, they're coming, Darkseid's coming. Like, that would have been great if you didn't need to have Doomsday in that movie.
No, not at all.
No.
And I think that's what hurt Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, I'll say another issue with Man of Steel was Kevin Costner's take on Pa Kent, where he was basically giving Clark Kent these really, I would say, the flat out the wrong lessons, like where Clark saved that bus full of children, and then Pa Kent borderline admonished him, where Clark was like, "So you think I should have let those kids die?" And then Pa Kent has the nerve to go, "Maybe." What?
Well, I think it's tough when you've got them killing off Pa Kent right away. Anyways, that's just kind of bizarre. Yeah, that was a weird thing. And then him watching Pa Kent die, and I guess maybe that was his inspiration to do the right thing. I don't know, but like I said, I'm not a big Superman fan, but I gained a newfound respect for him in the movies. I think the actor who's playing him is great.
Yeah.
But what they did, killing Zod, to me was it made the most sense, and it launched them in the direction they went in. So we'll see what happens. I am looking forward to the new Justice League movie. I'm not really sold on the Flash's outfit.
Yeah, it seems like a hodgepodge of different like armor pieces slapped together.
Right, and Justice League, it is what it is, and Aquaman looks pretty cool, but we'll see how that pans out too. And then there's no Green Lantern, which is kind of, and I'm sorry for all of you out there, Cyborg is a Teen Titan, not a member of the Justice League. It's wrong on every level. Just send him back. I mean, there are so many other heroes that have been part of the Justice League. Why he's there makes no sense.
Do you think they could have brought in the Justice League so much better? Because I believe they could have.
Well, you're going to have your Aquaman movie coming out. You're going to have your Flash movie coming out. Your Wonder Woman movie was a huge hit. Let me tell you, the Flash, that movie, and the Aquaman movie will only do well with what we see from the characters in the movie, the Justice League movie. If it comes out and the Flash character is this turd that nobody cares about, I mean, if he comes out like Ryan Reynolds was Green Lantern, there's your Flash movie out the window. If he comes out like Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool, well, your movie's going to do well. And then they talk about what, a Cyborg movie too?
Yeah.
Oh, please. Like, that's as dumb as having an Ant-Man movie.
Well, I mean, maybe I was thinking maybe they can use Cyborg as a way to segue into a live-action Teen Titans film. That's a possibility.
No, they've got him in the Justice League in the comics too, and I just shake my head. I don't understand why, but someone decided he's all grown up and let's take him out of the Teen Titans, and so I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Okay. Now, going back to Hellion, so you get the opportunity to have Hellion on the big screen.
Okay.
Who would you cast as some of the characters?
Oh man. I wish you had told me that question before I got here.
Nope. Because every time I do the question of the week, I never tell Victor.
Okay.
Never. I love that.
I think Danny DeVito would be a great Simeon Wagner.
Of course. How we mentioned Danny DeVito last week, how he got a worse.
Yeah, like the Razzies gave him or nominated him Worst Supporting Actor for Batman Returns, which is inexplicable.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that one. I loved him as Penguin.
Let me see. The Devil. I don't know. That's a really tough one. That's a good question. And I'm not really up to date with a lot of people's names. Like, I got faces in my head, so it would be
describe
tough.
him. Vic will nail it.
I think Sabretooth in the first X-Men, Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
He'd be a good devil in my movie. The demons would be, well, you can put anybody under the demons.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really matter. The band. Oh man, that's tough. Let me think about it. Let's go to the next question as I'm thinking.
Okay.
Okay, so with the popularity of comic book TV shows and movies, do you think people would eventually stop reading the comics?
Now I'm more worried about people reading the comics online and not getting the hard copies.
I prefer hard copies myself.
I do too. I look at it like, you meet the author, you meet the artist, you get a signed copy, or you have it in your hand, something to hold. You can't get an autograph on a computer screen.
Correct. And it's like I read this in a meme. Stan Lee once said, like, comics are like boobs. Like, they're nice to look at on the screen, but wouldn't you rather have them in your hand?
Yeah, there you go.
Nope. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Leave it to Carl to quote Stan Lee on that. Well, then again, Stan Lee did make Stripperella on Spike TV, so there's that.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
Please no XFL comments.
Oh my goodness.
I watched the XFL. I had a favorite team and all.
Oh,
Wow.
I did.
he hate me.
No, it wasn't. I remember Rod Smart. He ended up going to play for the the Raiders.
Okay.
But actually, I think there's only one XFL athlete to actually win a Super Bowl.
Oh, really?
Only one. Tommy Maddox.
Yeah.
He went on to play for Pittsburgh.
Was it Pittsburgh?
Yeah. He was actually the starting quarterback before Ben Roethlisberger.
Didn't he? Was he on the Broncos too? I thought.
I don't think so. I remember was him going to Pittsburgh.
So yeah, the XFL. Oh my gosh.
Ah, I see.
I remember.
Man.
I
Yeah.
like the Orlando Rage. They were like undefeated and then like lost in the playoffs, and I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean, Vince McMahon had some stones to compete against the NFL.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but then, as you know, it ended up the XFL went the way of the World Bodybuilding Federation. So
WBF.
Went the way of the dinosaur. Who are you kidding?
yeah, it certainly did. And you guys can talk about the this
Oh,
ball
he played
of,
on a couple. He played on a good amount of teams: the Broncos, the Rams, Giants, practice squad for the Falcons, New Jersey Red Dogs, LA Extreme for the XFL. Then he went on to the Steelers and won that Super Bowl. And then and then he was the Philadelphia Soul, which I think that was an Arena Football League team.
Because life doesn't get
Yeah.
better than arena football.
Arena football can be entertaining.
Yeah. Doesn't
I
Bon
mean-
Jovi own a team?
I think so.
Yeah.
arena football. That's like indoors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not as big, and the scores are like rather high, but it can be. It's fun sometimes.
900 to 722 scores. Like
Not
that.
that high, but high enough.
All right.
So, have you guys seen? Are you guys fans of Gotham?
No, I have one of my clients talks to me about it all the time, and I'm just like, okay, I don't watch Gotham. And he still tells me like what happens. So I mean, I know like the young Bruce Wayne is starting to become Batman in this upcoming season.
That's yeah, he is. It's kind of weird. Victor, do you watch it?
No, I haven't seen an episode.
Well, they're just bringing it. They brought the Scarecrow in a few seasons ago, but they're really bringing the Scarecrow in now. Like they introduced the Serum and the Son and the Father, but now the Son has taken over and they nail it. Oh my God,
Really?
it is awesome the way he wrote.
Now my thing
Okay.
with Gotham is like, is that actually the backstories of the villains?
In that universe? That's what it is. They're not making it Batman.
Yeah, it's solely around Jim Gordon.
They're making new characters. They introduced Fish Mooney.
Right.
They're changing things around to suit their universe. They're not claiming to be part of Batman. It's its own story and its an entity.
Oh,
Okay.
So it's fun, and I like it. I do like it a lot. The Flash one is more family friendly.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick of speedsters. I'm kind of glad that this season they're not going to have speedsters on it. And the kid who plays Wally West is like probably the worst actor. And
I got compared to
Is
Wally West.
that Grant Gustin?
no, that's Barry Allen.
Okay.
Wally West. I don't know what his name is, but he's god awful. The episodes are always better when he's not around. And Arrow, I enjoy Arrow, but that's a lot because Deathstroke's on it. And the season finale last year of Arrow was great. It was great seeing Deathstroke back.
Now, is it still Manu Bennett playing him?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And
I
he's-
like Manu Bennett from Spartacus.
And then you see these like put them in like that's the problem too when you've got characters that are in the TV show and characters that are going to movies, and then you switch the characters, so the actor playing him. So it's like Manu Bennett should be on the big screen. Let him be Deathstroke in the movie. He's fantastic. He nails it.
Now I know Deathstroke's supposed to be the villain in the upcoming Batman movie, but
Right.
Yeah.
did they select an actor yet?
Yeah, it
I
was
just don't know who it is.
Joe Manganiello, something like that. Like I know he was in Captain America, the First Avenger. No, the Winter Soldier, and Civil War. He was like Crossbones. I think that was him. I believe that was him.
I don't know if that's him.
Yeah,
Oh, him.
maybe
Let me see.
I could be
Yes,
mistaken.
him.
Yeah,
He did play Crossbones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, it's not working for me at all.
yeah. He did say that because of they're doing a page one rewrite of the script. Like Manganiello says, like he's not sure if he's still going to be in it.
Oh,
It's not listed on his Wikipedia.
Yeah, oh, well, there you go. So
well, the movie's not made yet either.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
but usually they'll say like if it's like in production or what.
yeah, but man, but yeah, the DCEU needs to get their act together with Batman because Ben Affleck is a solid Bruce Wayne with what he was given. But,
Okay, so here's my take because people always ask me, "Who's your favorite Batman?" How many times have we heard this question? Who's your favorite Batman?
It's a generational thing.
But no, here's you're right. But let
It
me.
is.
There are different things, and I look at Batman in many different lights, and I think the one person that should have been Batman never was, and it blows me away. So Michael Keaton was good, but to me he was too small to be Batman, and I'm talking from the comic point of view, from the Bruce Wayne point of view, and from size, build, and everything.
Yeah.
Correct. All right.
He was good. Val Kilmer had the best size to be Batman, but the blonde hair, lousy Bruce Wayne. It just didn't fit. George Clooney, well, we can just forget that.
yeah,
You didn't even like him as a Bruce Wayne.
No, I didn't like him as anything. And then you've got Christian Bale, who's probably my favorite. Ben Affleck, I was not really happy when they picked him, and it's nothing to do with Ben Affleck other than his age. Because here you are, you got Batman, and now you're sticking him with all these younger actors and actresses, and it just doesn't fit. They're all kind of like supposed to be the same age, and give or take. And here you've got Ben Affleck, who is visibly older
yeah.
than the rest. So it kind of disappoints me. But the person who I thought when they were first making the original Batman movie with Jack Nicholson, and if you go back to the 87, 88 era, and if you can find a picture of this actor in a suit and a tuxedo, the person who probably would have been the best Batman was Alec Baldwin. He had the look, he had the size, he had the jawbone structure. He was the perfect Bruce Wayne. He had the size for Batman, and we got little short, well not short, but Michael Keaton, who was good, but again as a physical side,
I mean, I found a
like that would be.
yeah.
That would be a good Bruce Wayne.
yeah, that'd be such an interesting choice.
And
Alec Baldwin.
because everybody knows him now as kind of the comic relief, but back then when he was doing, think about The Hunt for Red October,
Okay.
like that Alec Baldwin being Batman, that would have worked. But that's just
Yeah.
me.
Plus, he kind of has the voice for it too. Yeah.
Now, I actually had this question. What are your thoughts on the Universal Monster series? Universe.
Oh, the Dark Universe.
Dark Universe, yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the name of it, and I didn't have my phone with me at the time.
I'm kind of excited about it because I love all those monsters. I saw The Mummy, and I know people hated it. And again, sometimes movies just got to be fun, and I kind of took it for like that. It was kind of fun. I like how they're going to have one character. They're going to do what they do with Marvel.
Yeah.
They're going to have that one character float, and I think it's the girl. I'm not sure. It's either the girl or Russell Crowe's character.
Yeah, it's Russell Crowe's character.
Dr.
Yeah.
Jekyll, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I read something, they mentioned a name, but it wasn't Dr. Jekyll. That's why I thought it was. I think it might be both of them actually, and just have them kind of in all the movies. I think that's kind of clever. Let the mummy's done. All right, now you move on to the next one. The thing about the Mummy that struck me as weird was Tom Cruise. He looked kind of not like Tom Cruise. He looked tired. He looked worn. I don't know. He
did it for the check, you can tell.
Kinda, yeah. Not, it was. I think maybe he's so used to making his own movies that doing this for somebody else wasn't something that he was into, but it was just kind of like the scenes when, like, the beginning parts especially, it was kind of like, wow, that's just doesn't seem right. So that kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, and I know Johnny Depp was supposed to play
the Invisible Man.
Probably would. Okay, listen, I know Johnny Depp. He's voice acting. He's voice acting.
That's essentially.
Well, Benedict Cumberbatch, everyone was so excited about him in The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Smaug.
I mean, yeah, The Hobbit, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, oh my God! Okay.
Yeah.
Someone did.
Yeah.
Probably did, sitting on a cell phone. I don't have to go to wherever you're recording. I'll just call.
Yep. just like Vin Diesel in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
That's like the year Eddie Van Halen was voted world's greatest keyboardist for Jump back in the 80s. Sorry, folks, I'm dating myself. But he did one song with keyboard, and everyone voted him greatest keyboardist alive.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's how that was.
Wow.
Oh man. But any like comic recommendations or because always on Free Comic Book Day, I'll pick. I know we usually get what 3 or 4, or we get 5. I'll get about 4, and I always leave you with give me a recommendation.
Yep. There's a new book out, Realm, which is huge. That sold, and you might have to get that in trade paperback when it comes out. That's by Image. Okay. Obviously, like I had mentioned, the Dark Arc by Aftershock. They got a book too called Baby Teeth that's doing really well. I love for Marvel. Let me see. Marvel, I read Cable, Old Man Logan, which is, Old Man Logan is, Wolverine, just Old Man Logan. But the thing is, they killed Wolverine many years ago, and they've actually left him dead, which is kind of exciting that a character's been dead for, especially a character of Wolverine's magnitude, to keep him dead, which is pretty cool. There's a book called Weapon X, which has got Old Man Logan, Lady Deathstrike, Sabretooth.
From the 90s?
No, it's out now.
There's a new Weapon X?
Yeah, Mystique and Warpath.
Okay.
And it's a fun book. But Marvel, like right now, they're starting their legacy off, and they're going to be changing things. So, but I do love Cable. That's probably Cable and Weapon X are my 2 favorites right now for them. The Thanos book is pretty good as well.
I think I have that hip hop cover.
Now DC, Deathstroke, without a doubt, is my favorite, and Green Arrow, and then Hawkman's coming back. So this whole metal thing, this metal storyline, is based on Hawkman's journal. So Hawkman's supposed to make a return, which I'm all excited about. We'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
But I mean, if comics, what's great about comics is there's so many different avenues to go. If you like music, Gwar has a comic out. Carl's looking at me like,
wait, who's this?
Gwar, Gwar, Gwar. These guys are. If you're not familiar with Gwar, are you familiar with Gwar?
It sounds familiar. I know I've heard it.
Why don't you take a look on your phone at Gwar? It's quite the scene. Just speaking of this, you didn't like Suicide Squad?
Nah, I did not.
What didn't you like?
Oh man.
The Hot Topic Avengers.
Oh man, what I
Shout out to my cousin Isaac. On that one.
All right, let me say. Did you find like I liked it? I thought it was fun. Again, it was a fun movie. I liked Will Smith, the scene when he's pissed off and he starts shooting all the monsters, and the military guys just stop and watch him. I was like, that's a dead shot. That was perfect. And then the guy on fire with Inferno or Pyro, whatever.
Oh, Diablo.
El Diablo, yeah.
Yeah.
He was awesome. I thought Killer Croc was too
stereotypical.
stereotypical.
I want to watch BET.
Fake. Too. Yeah, like we threw him in there. It was like Captain Boomerang was kind of funny. Like
he was in Spartacus.
Yep.
Yeah.
The humor for that could have been him. I thought the girl playing Harlequin nailed it. I thought she did a really good job.
I'm so sick of that cosplay.
But that's the
I
thing.
really am.
She's like Deadpool. You see, it comes in waves, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of Deadpool comics, then it dwindles down. There are a lot of Deadpool comics, then it dwindles down. Harlequin, she's in.
Yeah, I think
She's got her book.
next year, I think it will be Domino.
Oh yeah, with Deadpool 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zazie Beetz is new Domino. Have you seen what she looked like?
No.
I'll show you a picture.
Yeah. Now John Hapana, he says yes, Suicide Squad was a fun movie. It
He
was
will defend DC.
yeah.
Thanks, John.
No matter what.
Yeah, John Hapana.
Who the man?
He is
That's
a
our supervillain.
Come see me at Rock Coco's on Academy Ave, and we'll talk.
He lives in Houston, unfortunately.
Oh, you live in Houston? Well, what are you doing in Houston, man?
well,
Go Oilers.
yeah,
Sorry. Texans, I guess. No, Oilers are better. Sorry.
yeah.
Texans.
Um,
Well, they almost beat.
Astros aren't bad, though.
They almost beat.
Don't say it.
Well-
Don't make me sad.
Well, I was going to say that John Haponic is our resident DCEU apologist. And also, I was going to say Suicide Squad, what I didn't like about it was first, like, it was haphazard, like, in terms of, like, the tone and the pace. You could tell that they were trying to be an edgier Guardians of the Galaxy. They even cut their trailers to kind of match that whole pop song type vibe and whatnot. And it came off as trying a little too hard to be cool, too cool for school. Also, the main villain, Enchantress, was just
The
utterly
most awful pop lock I have ever seen.
just utterly laughable and ridiculous. One of the
It
worst.
really looked like they ran out of money towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, definitely one of the worst villains I've seen in a comic book film. Not just DCEU. Enchantress was just awful.
Yeah, I will say yes. I was disappointed with her in that capacity.
I did
Yeah.
like I know I'm gonna get his name right. Inferno.
El Diablo.
El Diablo. Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah, he stole. Yeah, it says it.
I liked his I liked his character in the movie.
Yeah, he really he stole it because he didn't want his powers. He had them, and then he just came to terms with what he did. He did a really good job. And the thing that's cool is that it's the Suicide Squad. Someone's got to die. So that was kind of.
Or Gaz Mega.
See, I told you, Gua. There's comics for everybody. I mean, you got comics for kids. You got comics for metal fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Or
Iron Maiden's got a comic coming out.
Orgasmageddon.
Yeah, these guys wear costumes. I mean, they're on stage. I mean, they are a show. Let me tell
It
you.
literally it looks like an animated 70s like
Yeah,
acid trip.
it does remind me of the heavy metal artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was thinking
Nice.
of.
So yeah, they're definitely. But that's a real band, and they dress up like that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you find a picture of the real band, you'd be like, oh my gosh.
I
And they
can't-
go out in public like that. They do. Sometimes they do the Rock and Shock up in Worcester, and they've done it a couple times. But,
I'm looking at him right now.
yeah.
Okay. Nice. So,
Kiss meets Vampirella. There's a comic
Yeah.
for you.
oh my God. Oh, Kiss. I remember WCW had an angle with them at
The
in one of
Demon.
the ladies.
Yeah. Oh my god. I can't remember who that guy was.
Carl's all excited now.
Because I completely forgot all about it. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Master P had the No Limit Soldiers in WCW.
Yeah, they did. Oh, WCW.
Where are you now? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. You're gone.
Yeah.
No, they have a very lovely archive
On the network.
on the WWE Network.
Yes, they do.
Everything great until like 1990. Yeah, about 99.
Yeah, that's about right. But before David Arquette won the title.
Way before David Arquette won the title. Oh my.
Oh man. And you mentioned comic book recommendations. Any others yet in mind, or?
Let me see. I read The Walking Dead, but that's just everyone does that.
I haven't read The Walking Dead in so long. I'm so behind to like where I'm at. Carl just got his eye shot out in the comics.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I'm far behind.
Wow.
I'm sure there's like worse villains than Negan like right now.
There's an author. His name's El Torres, and he writes really low down on the independent network. Like we're talking like Amigo Comics is what it's called. He has a book called Ghost Wolf, which I mean this is like indie. You know, you've got Marvel, DC, Image, IDW, Dark Horse, Aftershock, and then you trickle down to the people that have like 1 or 2 titles. And Amigo has like one, and he's one of my favorite authors. I wish he would hook up with a bigger name. I don't know if Amigo is his line, but I really enjoy his work. He's Ghost Wolf's like a Viking type movie, but it's Viking type comic, but it's further like in the past, and it's fun. I think the thing wears like a wolf head, and it's a good read. And he's done a couple other things. I'm on the second arc. The first arc came out like 3 or 4 years ago of Ghost Wolf. This is the next storyline, but he's done some things in between, and it's usually darker stuff. But he's a joy to read, and I wish he would get his props because he's unknown by most people. It's one of those guys you go through the previews and you really got to look to find him. And then my guilty pleasure, I read all superhero stuff and stories, some horror stuff.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I do have one that I read for fun. No brainer. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy. See if either of you guys read my Facebook post.
Okay.
Did you? Because I posted it about a week ago. Carl scrambling.
The last thing I saw that you posted, you went to a Sheila E. concert.
I did, and she was awesome. Front row.
I like those pictures because I went to see Mars Day in the Time like a month ago.
I saw that, and I wanted to go to that, and I was like, musicians are I love music. It's like more than I like comics. And some musicians that are just great bring greatness out of other people. And Prince, I mean, I love his music. He's not one of my favorites. I'm a prog rock guy. I like hard, heavy metal music. But there are some people I just appreciate. Yeah. And Prince surrounded himself with some great musicians. And Sheila E. is a world-class drummer who, if one of my 3 favorite drummers. She is amazing. To see her, to finally get to see her on stage, was an honor.
That's amazing, and it's funny too. My cousin was at that same concert.
That's cool.
Wow,
nice.
Cool.
But so what were we saying? Oh, so Josie and the Pussycats.
Really?
It's just what had happened was the comic had come out, and the first issue had like 9 issues, 9 covers, and my daughter is a huge Talking Heads fan. And one of the covers had the girls in a dorm room, and they're sort of all different posters on the wall, and one was the Talking Heads. So I called her, I said, Gabby, I got your comic. And at this point, she's starting to slow down reading comics because she's going off to college, and she doesn't want to, that commitment. But I said, I got you one. I go, you'll know why when I give it to you. So I gave it to her, and she was so excited because it had the Talking Heads. And I was like, the other 8 covers, there was a couple that were really cool. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to grab this one. So I read it, and it was fun. It was a new version, and then they had some from the old comics way back when. So it's only been like 9 or 10 issues, but it's fun. It's just my guilty pleasure, I guess. Like some people are reading Archie. They're redoing Archie, making it more serious.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Riverdale.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
So there's a comic for that, but they're upgrading Archie to today's standards or today's lifestyle.
Now, what did you think of Stranger Things?
You know what? I didn't watch it. Well, look at the face on Carl.
Oh,
my daughter loved it. I just never got around to doing it.
Okay.
My son wants to watch it, so maybe the 2 of us will kick in and watch it.
Oh, please do. Please do. Before October 27th.
Okay.
Because that's when the new season starts.
I've heard that rumor.
Oh, it ain't no rumor. It's true. And especially you're a guy from the 80s.
Yeah. I heard,
It's right up your alley.
Yeah. It's many
It's
homages.
one of those things I've been meaning to do, but just getting the time to do it.
Yeah. And also to add a quick comic recommendation, and I thank you for actually putting me onto this on Free Comic Book Day, and this is Lady Mechanica.
Oh, my favorite.
Yes,
she's great.
Oh yeah, all 3 volumes, written and illustrated by Joe Benitez.
Yes,
it's fantastic artwork, the steampunk aesthetic. It's just an awesome character, kind of like steampunk / cybernetics and like mystery adventure.
With Baltimore ending, the story ending, that's kind of like my new go-to. I'm like, it doesn't come out a lot, so when it does come out, I get all excited because there are always 2 covers and they're always beautiful. I mean, the artwork, Victor, you are 100% right. The artwork is fantastic.
Yep.
Solid story. If you're into steampunk, That is definitely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
You go to Rococo, see Jim, and he will put you on.
yeah,
He will put you on.
Yeah.
But thank you. We're about to get into our question of the week. Last week's question of the week was name a movie that you watched as a kid that you shouldn't have. Just shoot one.
Well, I mean, I said Carrie and Halloween, the first shot.
I never seen the whole Carrie movie, but I saw that one scene and I'll never forget it.
I was probably third grade, so that's probably one
I
of
was
those movies.
probably around that age too when I saw that scene of Carrie.
I mean, there's another movie, but I don't want to get my sister in trouble, so we're not gonna.
She's grown.
Yeah.
See,
well,
now I'm curious.
my
No.
mother's up in heaven, and I'm not gonna have her roll in the grave, so to speak.
Okay, well,
But definitely Carrie.
Carrie. I said, well, last week I said Jade.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't know what that movie's about. I just know I shouldn't have been watching it. And Species 2.
Species 2. Ooh. Feces 2?
Species.
Oh, I thought you said feces for a minute. It's the same.
Species 2. And Victor has like a host.
oh yeah, like RoboCop, the Alien movies, Aliens, Alien 3. Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there were all sorts of movies growing up. I mean, all the horror movies.
Yeah.
Did you guys Predator?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all excited. There's a new one coming out.
Yep.
Very excited about that.
Really?
Yeah. Thomas Jane's in it.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing bits and pieces. Have you heard anything about what it's supposed to be about?
I think it's a follow up to Predators, which came out in 2010.
No, it's supposed to be Predators. That I love that movie. I think it's supposed to be more towards the Schwarzenegger one.
Oh, okay.
But I hear it's supposed to be something about the aliens, the Predators, and the humans actually fighting together. I don't know what it's against, though. So I don't know. That was one of the things, working as a team.
Okay.
But we had that in Aliens versus Predator.
We did. We did.
Yeah. Enough
All right.
said.
Hey, listen, the first one was good. The second one was...
I liked all I saw was the first one, and I liked it.
The second
And
one,
I'm a big Sanaa Lathan fan.
The second one, right? You know, sometimes you get that movie or that show where you don't like anybody, like Star Trek Voyager, like they were lost in space. Good, let them stay lost in space.
Was it that bad?
I hated it.
Oh wow.
It was so bad they had to kick one of the characters off to bring Jerry Ryan in and put her in a skin tight silver suit for the guys to just keep watching.
Oh okay.
Chakotay was probably the weakest first officer, like no spine. It was bad. Neelix was like the poor man's excuse for. It was just horrible.
It came on before WCW Saturday Night back in the day.
So now you have Aliens versus Predator Requiem, the second one.
Yeah.
That movie was so bad, and the people, the humans in it were such an unlikable bunch of people. When they all get bombed at the end, you're like, yeah. It was exciting because they all died. It was a community where nobody cared about them. Like they sucked. It was just crappy actors, bad actors, and I was so glad when that movie was. It was such a, but they kind of got screwed by the end of Alien versus Predator with the Predator coming out, the alien coming out of the Predator. That kind of tied their hands for the second movie because they didn't want, like the new directors took over. They didn't want the hybrid.
Yeah.
So that kind of screwed them, and they had to kind of really. That's why it's so dark.
Okay. All right.
Gotcha.
Well, let me see. Nick Quattrini on Facebook, he says,
Nick.
yeah, I hope I'm saying his name right because he comments a lot. He goes, I think the first movie I ever saw was Clerks. It had came out, and a friend of my mom's from work, she had it on tape or DVD. I can't remember, but my mom wasn't going to let me watch it, and she convinced her it was okay, and I got to see it. I never saw the first Clerks. Clerks 2 now.
Oh my God.
I love Clerks 2.
The Donkey Show.
Oh, God.
Oh boy.
Not a fan of Clerks. Sorry.
I understand.
And Memento. You ever see Memento?
Yes.
I hated that
What?
movie.
What?
Sorry.
Bring on the debate.
What?
Sorry.
Bring on the debate.
You hate Christopher Nolan's Memento?
I despised it. It's
What?
2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Why?
Because it was just the whole tattooing himself and scarring himself, and I suffered through that movie. Sorry.
No, that's a brilliantly constructed movie. The screenplay that starts from the ending and goes back to the beginning. The clues.
it just
This is Chris.
It was-
This is
it was painful.
Christopher Nolan's #1 fan right now.
I'm crushed by this.
I'm sorry. Do you need a hug?
I think I do.
Okay, I'll give you a hug after the show.
Okay.
Okay. Not a. Just didn't. It did.
Wow.
You know what? It's like, some people like love these movies. So I rented it. I didn't know what to expect. I watched it, and when you need to keep notes about what's going on, there's too much to it. And I was kind of like, it was too much, and like Clerks to me was just too Kevin Smith, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Have you seen Clerks 2?
No.
Yeah.
Watch Clerks 2.
And then,
Especially, you know what? I'll send you the clip when they were arguing over between what was the better trilogy between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
okay.
Hilarious.
Okay. But I just, and then there are movies that you die for, that you're so much looking forward to, and then it comes out and you're like, shit, that sucked.
Oh, man.
Dark Man. I was
remember that.
excited for that movie to come out, and I was so excited for it to come out, and it came out, and I saw it on opening night, and I was so disappointed with what I saw. Utter failure. Terrible movie.
I remember like seeing the commercial for Dark Man, and I was just kind of like, okay, and that was it. I did not draw any type of like interest in seeing it.
Terrible. Terrible.
Okay. Kyle Chapman, he's what I always call the most diabolical hater this side of the Mississippi. He hates. So he has 3. It, the original It. So he says F that clown. Basic Instinct.
Oh boy.
And Showgirls, I watched it. He said he watched it a few times.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Showgirls, boy. That did wonders for her career.
Yeah,
It ended her career, but boy, people don't stop talking about her.
it's
Yep.
and then Eddie O.T. says Debbie Does Dallas.
Okay.
And let me see on Instagram. Wait. Okay. Excuse the names because these are hilarious sometimes. Thundertongue 41 said Pet Cemetery. 10 months old. My mom said I laughed through the whole movie. That's actually my cousin. Shout out to my cousin Alyssa. After she says she can't pinpoint just one. Jessica Concussion says Pretty Woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tattoos by Dre said RoboCop, Terminator 2, Total Recall. Basically, really good R-rated movies.
Yeah.
I find that like most Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, you can watch them the first time and they're kind of fun, and then after that you're kind of like,
Even Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
yeah. I liked The Running Man, and I like Predator. Those are the ones I can watch over and over again. After that,
Really, not Terminator 2?
because I'm so sick of I'll Be Back.
Yeah.
It kind of like it was a great movie, but it's like one of those I don't need to see it again.
Nah, I got
So
you.
then John Aponic says Jaws. I was scared to swim in the pool after that. Looking back, Jaws was so cheesy, but like the story was just like
Because that scene on the boat when they're drunk and they're talking about their wounds, that was great. My favorite line from that movie wasn't you need a bigger boat. It was when he was going with Brody was taking Richard Dreyfuss out, and they were on the boat, and they're talking, and he goes something about living on an island, and he goes, "It's only an island when you look at it from the water." And Richard Dreyfuss goes, "Well, that makes a lot of sense," but it does. And to me, that was such a perfect. I think that was such a great line in that movie that people forget about. Jaws is like one of my favorite movies. I could watch that movie 7 days a week and not get sick of it.
Oh yeah.
all right. So this week's question of the week, which I have to break this down and just put it in strictly nerd culture.
Okay.
Who has the most annoying fan base?
Most annoying fan base. Well,
This is what I gotta think of because like I have an answer for that, but it's not sport. It's not within nerd culture.
Are you talking sports?
One sports, another one in music.
I mean, you can.
I knew somebody was gonna say the Dallas Cowboys. Go ahead. Yep.
No, I disagree. I think the New England Patriot fans are the worst fans
yes.
ever.
Bump it. Screw them. Screw the just nerd culture. Screw breaking that down. The worst fan bases, and I would call them Tom Brady fans.
Oh, he's even going.
They're not New England Patriot fans. They are Tom Brady fans. They claim themselves as New England Patriot fans, but they never watch a game before 2001. And then the other one, the Beehive. Beyonce fans.
It's like a
They
cult.
look for people to talk bad about Beyonce just so they can go off. I mean, there was one story where Beyonce yeah, I'm being called such a hater. There was one story where Beyonce was performing and she sneezed on stage and the whole entire crowd said bless you.
Yeah, it's like a cult of personality.
Imagine if she farted. Okay, like
Well, Afton O'Neill says video game fans as an annoying fan
it
base.
depends on which game. You got to break those down.
Now, Jim, you were saying something about the Patriots fans. I figured you had more to say.
Well,
there.
I'm not a Patriot fan at all. And I just had this conversation with someone earlier today, and it basically, you know, I grew up when you couldn't watch Patriot games on TV because they sucked so bad. No one went to the games. No one cared. And then all of a sudden they started getting good, and then all of a sudden everybody's telling me they're a lifelong Patriot fan.
They cannot. I bet you none of them, without Googling, can tell you who was the starting quarterback before Bledsoe.
So
I always ask that question and can never get an answer.
right, and so to me that kind of is that, and I'll leave the Patriots out of that after this. I don't want to waste my time talking about that dead horse.
Yeah.
I do find that cosplayers.
Really?
I don't know if you'd call them a fan base, but cosplayers, I'm not a fan of cosplayers. They want to do it. I'm fine with that. But having gone to conventions and stuff like that, I think the conventions, some of them have gotten better, giving them their spot to go. But when these people are walking around conventions with their Harley Quinn big hammers or swords, even though they're fake or wings or whatever,
Yeah.
there are people behind you. They're walking, and granted, you paid to get in. A lot of them don't spend any money, don't buy anything in there. They're there to show off their hard work, which is fine. That's great. And the conventions that put them in a spot where they can showcase that, that's great. But if you're set up at a table and someone is standing in front of you blocking people from seeing you, that one person that might come by that might be interested in what you're selling doesn't see it because this cosplay, they stop on a dime to take pictures. I mean, you bump into people. I mean, some of these costumes are so extravagant. So I think that's kind of and I know people are going to hate me for it. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't do it, and I don't care if people do it. I just think that sometimes they're not thinking about other people.
Oh, Afton said manga fans.
Well, that might be.
And then there was another one. She said Trump followers. But let's not. We can't.
Yeah.
Get
No
on that.
politics, please.
None.
Yes. I would say like annoying fan bases. I can't pinpoint one specifically, but I would say the types of nerd, like hardcore nerds who are very snobbish with their nerdiness, in the sense that they're very snobbish about how much they know about, say, Star Trek or Star Wars, and like even down to like the most obscure and esoteric facts that no casual fan would know. And then if they notice that you don't know as much as they do, they'll turn it around like, oh well, you must not be a real fan, or they'll kind of imply it. They may not say it outright, but they might imply it by the way they speak to you and whatnot. That kind of like nerd elitism, I don't really care for. Yeah, because it's not inclusive. It's not inclusive at all.
So, what are your takes on the Big Bang Theory?
Big Bang Theory. You know what? I've seen a few episodes, and to quote a comedian that I listen to from now and again, Bill Burr, he perfectly describes the Big Bang Theory as nerd blackface. And what he meant by that was like Big Bang Theory is not really a representation of nerds per se or nerd culture. It's like a caricature of what like executives think nerds are. Yeah, and it kind of like it's kind of like the Ouroboros, like the snake that eats its own tail, where it's like, okay, this is like a fake impression of what executives think nerds are.
An over exaggeration of it.
Yeah, and then like people who aren't nerds look at that and go, oh, that must be how nerds are, and to the point where real nerds are like, okay, that really represents what our culture is, and it's not really the case. Yeah, it's kind of like an inception level of fakeness, if you will.
I often just said Star Wars fans.
Some I will say like that goes back to the elitist some elitist fans of the group, especially apologists of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Yeah, those can be a little irksome. Yeah,
You own the prequel trilogy.
it came in a box set.
It has the greatest lightsaber fight of all time.
What would that be?
Darth Maul. I'm sorry.
You can't hate Darth Maul.
Darth Maul against Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That was like, dude, man. The only thing that came out of those prequels were the lightsaber fights, because the ones with Luke and
Darth Vader
were too clanky and clunky, and then in the last episode that came out, they looked too shoddy, like too. They looked like they weren't comfortable. The actors didn't look comfortable with what they were doing.
I would have to disagree. Like the original trilogy and Force Awakens, I thought their lightsaber battles were more meaningful because the characters, had all that story behind them and the character development. Like you cared about them, so it wasn't so much about like the fight itself, but the drama behind it.
But I cared about Darth Maul. Darth Maul lives matter.
Well,
we need more Darth Maul.
I did like Yoda's fight. Just because I was like, oh, snap, Yoda's actually fighting? Oh, okay.
Well,
I can never watch it again.
I mean, I thought,
until I have my bad movie day.
I mean, looking back.
Carl, Yoda's life matters too.
But I got to say, looking back, that Yoda fight was poor. I mean, because
I'm sure looking back at it, I'll look at it like Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Well, I mean, because Yoda's so powerful, he doesn't need lightsabers. He can just explode your brain with his mind if he wanted to, using the Force.
Sure. You're the biggest Star Wars fan than I am. Just that when I saw it at the time, I'm like, oh, snap, Yoda's fighting. That's cool. And now I'm just like, all right, Yoda fight.
Yeah.
At that time, I thought it was cool.
Agree to disagree. And sure. And for the record, Afton O'Neill, she said that she loves The Big Bang Theory. To that, I say...
my grandmother loves The Big Bang Theory.
We watch it. It's a staple in our house, but...
Oh, I was going to say... Well, we just have to agree to disagree. I was going to say Get Your Lives, but okay.
I just think there's a point... Like, I think they make comic book fans look bad. You're right. It is a caricature. Mm-hmm. There are some... I like to see some of the... the comics they have at the shop and stuff like that. But I think there are things that make them look bad. But then in turn, you've got Leonard who gets the babe, and Bernadette's not a bad looking lady either. So two of the three of them end up with hot looking women. Mm. So it kind of like for nerds, it's like a battle cry. Mm. But again, it is a caricature, and you're right.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. You can that question of the week will be on our social medias probably within a day or two. Jim, thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Hellion Returns. That's what we should name it.
Yes, Hellion Returns. Okay, we'll name that episode that.
I'll be back.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
I'll bring the kid with me.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I can get him.
I would love to see you and Trevor work on a project together.
I would too. Eventually, he's taking an advanced art class at school that he got referred to, so he's pretty excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome! That kid has so much potential. He's already good now, but his potential is like through the yin yang.
Absolutely, and also for our fine listeners in the Rhode Island area, you can catch Hellion issues 1 through 4 at Rococo's in Providence. So check it out.
Oh, and big shout outs to Afton too. She was a guest a couple of weeks ago. She bought us a couple of gifts. I got me some Game of Thrones socks, and then Vader got.
Well, Vader got his Darth Vader mug, Pop Funko land thing. So thank you, Afton, for the fine gift.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us on Facebook Live and listening, and for more comics talk. Thank you to the lovely chat on Facebook Live. Catch us next week for episode 92.
We really almost at 100.
Yeah, we're almost at 100.
And you don't look a day over 94.
Hey, black don't crack.
Indeed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the flip. Peace out, nerds.
Yeah.